So this is our final talk. As Carter said, this is Chris Williams. Now, I'm a father in real life. I have two daughters. He's the father of JSConf, if you will, and we're one big family, and we like to think of it that way. So it's been hard for me over the past few days because I left my phone in Portland, and I haven't been able to talk to my kids or to my wife. We've been exchanging emails. I've been checking it frantically anytime I get a chance, just in case. You never know what might happen at home. So it's really tough not to have that tether. Anyway, I didn't get to play in the fun of your text message game. I was sitting here like, man, all these guys are so tense about whether or not they're going to get their text message, but I didn't get any of that fun. Oh, yeah, okay. Anyway, I don't know. I think I'm rambling now. Let me introduce Chris, and I'll let him take it from here. He's really good at talking, way better than me.
How about now? There we go, mute button. So first thing I want to do is this is a slide. Step one, done. Thank you. I'll see everyone later. I want to start this out right. And, being the closing keynote has both privilege and honor. We've run JSConf US for 4 years now, and I've personally been responsible or co-curated well into the double digits of events. And the closing keynote is the most important thing. It's the lasting impression of the event. Actually, the group photo is, and that's great. What I want to do, I'm not in the keynote yet. This is just me rambling. I want to start this out correctly. Can I have everyone who helped organize this wonderful event please come up on stage? As they're coming up here, for those of you who have never had the, I don't want to say privilege, a duty, plague, pox of running a conference or event, it is a nightmarish disaster of constant epic proportions and craziness. These people need to be thanked tremendously, and I would appreciate it if you would assist me in thanking them for putting on such a wonderful event. Thank you.
Get off stage.
Get off stage. Now it's my turn. So, as I mentioned, giving a closing keynote is both an honor, a privilege, and it is one of the hardest things that I've ever had to do. And for some reason, and it's probably because I don't speak well, I never get asked to do it, except for recently. So I'm a bit new at this. And what I want to talk to you about is something that I've somewhat committed myself to. I have historically given the closing keynote to JSConf EU. I never speak at my own event as just a general rule of ethics that I have. And so this is a special time that I get to share with you things that I think we need to be talking about. So this talk, as I will call it, a pull request for people, is going to not be like the standard keynote. This isn't necessarily going to be something that you take with you and makes you a better code writer. But ideally, it'll make you a better person. And by doing that, ideally, we'll make all of ourselves a better group of people. And then hopefully, we'll make everything else great. But in order to do that, I need to give you a warning. And the warning is this. I'm going to talk about things that will make you upset. I'm going to talk about things that will question your basic beliefs and every god-awful reason why you're sitting in a chair right now or sitting at home. I'm going to do this because no one else is doing it. And if I don't do it, then we'll just keep doing what we're doing. and that's unacceptable. So I do want to make sure that I release of all obligations anyone involved with CascadiaJS and anyone else except for me here on the stage. If I say anything inappropriate or incorrect or wrong, the blame lies with me. Thank you. I know that's a little bit of harsh warning, so I'm going to do something, a levity piece. Nice little dance. Code heroes. We in the JavaScript community don't have a, in Ruby they have Ruby heroes, and in Python they have something that I don't remember the name for right now, unfortunately. But I just wanted to take a moment. I'm not a huge fan of this idea, but it helps in the discussion that we will have shortly. Can someone throw out names of people you would consider a code hero?
Chris Williams.
Oh, come on. That guy doesn't know how to program. Addy? Addy, okay. Who else? John Ressig. Crockford. Ashkenaz. Okay, that guy can't code. Stop saying his name. Anyone else?
Max Ogden.
Okay. Everyone has, at least by this point, a name or has heard a name that they have in their mind. Think about why you think that individual is a code hero. What do they do that gives or garners or requires or demands your respect of them? Think about what they do that makes them special. Hi, I'm Chris Williams. Throughout this discussion, you have to bear one thing in mind, and it's that I am a human being. I, like you, have feelings. I, like you, am just trying to get by in my day. Sometimes we forget this as programmers. It's very easy for us to just think of the world as digital items. It's very easy for us to just forget that there are feelings, and there are people, and there are families, and there are friends. How many of you have ever heard of JSConf? How many of you know who started that? Okay, for those of you who didn't raise your hand, nice to meet you. How many of you have seen this logo? You're welcome. How many of you thought the robots piece was really interesting? Something that's kind of cool. Once again, you're welcome. I speak to a lot of people, and it took me a while to realize this, but when I'm talking with them, they don't know who I am. And I don't necessarily always want to tell people, because I think that that's not a good, I hate being cocky and all. So please forgive me for this moment of cockiness, but I wanted to get you all to know who I am. So when I talk about these things, it provides context about who I, Chris Williams, the human being, is. How do you get a room full of techies to disconnect? It's a deep question. I have an answer. You right there, look up. Yeah, you'll work. Look up. You don't have to get out of your seat. That wireless router, is it off now? There's no lights on it, right? Excellent. All right, so the Wi-Fi's down. This is a good start. If you have a laptop open, close it. Sir, thank you. If you have a telephone out, please put it in your pocket or on the floor. If you don't, and I catch you during the talk pulling it out, you get the bar bill at the end of the night. Now that I have your attention, I am here today because I disconnected from Twitter. 218 days ago, this was my last message to the world through Twitter. My wife and I were sitting in the airport after successfully finishing JSConf, and she is bawling her eyes out. And I am dealing with the ramifications of what Twitter is, or what Twitter has become. Or, said differently, what we have become. And there were consequences that led to that, but I'm not here to discuss those with you. If you want, we can discuss that later. I'm happy to do that on a more very personal manner. But for right now, and the context of this discussion, I would just like to discuss what happened 218 days, 217 days, 216 days ago, and where I am and where I would hope that you are or become. So what happens when you disconnect? Very rarely do you ever have somebody who programs get up on stage and say, stop using the internet. So it's kind of a scary domain. When you do this, you experience, much like an addict, you experience withdrawal. I need to get that fix. I need to see what they're saying on the internet. But you don't. You experience a great sense of self-reflection. You start questioning things that would otherwise be considered as gospel truths in a technology domain. You start looking at the world from a different perspective because you are living in a different perspective. You no longer have that IV of must find out what is going on. Somebody's wrong on the internet. I need to fix it, constantly dripping through your veins. And you also realize that while we all think we have no time at all to do anything, you realize that you have a tremendous amount of time to accomplish a lot of good things. Let's talk about perspective. I'm going to ask you a question. What is wrong with us? Well, we're willing to spend $4.9 billion a year, globally, for saving lives lost to cancer. All forms of cancer. Curing AIDS, kind of important. You know, people die. We're willing to spend $6.9 billion per year. But you know what? On technology stuff, we're willing to dump $30.7 billion a year and increasing at a rapid rate. That doesn't save anyone's lives. That's not necessarily making life better for everyone. What is wrong with us? I'm not going to tell you with these slides, I'm not trying to get you to quit doing what you're doing and go cure cancer. What I would actually argue that we should be doing is stop doing things that don't matter, find somebody who's doing something that is in those disciplines, and work with them. We are programmers. We are great at finding patterns, automating those patterns, and optimizing those patterns. If I could give a definition of what a programmer is, that would be it. Geneticists are great at genetics. Chemists are great at chemistical stuff. They're horrible at being programmers. If you don't believe me, go talk to one of them. We are good at that. We should use what we are good at to help them with what they are good at. Think about how much we could change the world if each of us pairs up with a geneticist, a chemist, a biologist, a nuclear physicist, a person from the Red Cross, somebody doing charity, any of these things. And we automate their entire workflow so that way instead of having to employ 100 people, one person could do the entire thing. Imagine if we took the power and promise of cloud computing and utilized it for solving cancer. With the power and capability of shared coding and collaborative development that we all experience as we're sharing GitHub modules. We have the technology. But I think that what we've forgotten is that money does not equal happiness. We are beholden to money. We seek VC for some sort of quick return on a buck, some sort of 3-year investment schedule, in order for somebody else to make a lot of money under the promise that we'll make a little bit. What if that's not the reason we're here? What if the reason we're here is to make everyone's life better? I would argue that is why we are here. So we should be doing things that matter. Please bear in mind, especially those of you at home who do still have internet, this is just what I realized. If you disconnect or if you just reflect for a moment, you may realize something different. And I'm not trying to assert my opinion on you. I'm trying to share my experience with you in the hope that you'll share your experience with me. And if not me, then somebody else. And until we start talking about the things that actually matter, only then can we make a change. Now, there are other darker sides, I know, to disconnecting. But I want to assuage you of some of those. Certain things don't happen when you disconnect. You don't care anymore about stupid little trite arguments about whether semicolons are important or whether commas belong in the front, the back, or non-existent. None of these things matter. You don't lose touch with anyone because you still have this thing called human interaction. And if you go out to a restaurant with a bunch of friends, especially if they're tech friends, guess what? They're probably still connected. And they'll fill you in on everything that's going on until you're bored with it and they're like, all right, that's cool. Let's talk about your day job. Your life, most importantly, does not end. With the time that I disconnected, I spent a lot more time with my family. I have a wonderful 2.5-year-old daughter who I taught her how to build robots. I, from that, built more hardware devices. I built deeper relationships with my friends. And this is an important thing. I used to think I had friends because I have followers on Twitter. You know what? That doesn't count. Friends are something we have forgotten how to make, and more importantly, how to maintain. And we need to get back to that. Most importantly, though, I found happiness with who I was. I felt confidence with being able to talk about things that we would otherwise be scared to. I also did a bit of reading, and I found inspiration in some very strange places. The most strange of which is a book called World War Z. It's by Max Brooks, and if you have not read it, I suggest reading it and not watching the film that's coming out, although the film does look cool. But read this book. And I recommend this to you because I love zombies. But more importantly, the way that the book is structured. It's presented as an oral history of the zombie apocalypse. So it's the future after the apocalypse of the zombies. And it's the stories of this. And there's a great story of this where they're rebuilding what was the United States. And they're putting into service the individuals to rebuild society and rebuild civilization. Let me read this quote from the book directly. Talent describes the potential workforce, its level of skilled labor, and how that labor could be utilized effectively. To be perfectly candid, our supply of talent was at a critical low. Ours was a post-industrial or service-based economy, so complex and highly specialized that each individual could only function within the confines of its narrow, compartmentalized structure. What he's referencing is us. People who are so compartmentalized that we don't know how to plant plants to necessitate our own survival. We've lost touch with reality, and we need to get that back. This book opened my eyes to this, among other things about how the zombie apocalypse might fall out. But the biggest takeaway for me was to start growing a garden and understanding how fertilization works and how soil and nutrients work, and being able to sustain myself if something were to go awry. Let me ask you a series of questions that really is just one question. If you've talked with me, you kind of know what the next couple questions are. But think about these. What have we done that has bettered mankind in the last 5 years? 10 years? 20? 30 years? Most importantly, think about why you don't have immediate answers that you can rat off to those questions. We're supposed to be the innovative generation that does everything and changes everything. That's a long period of time. This is a completely and totally non-data-based representation of charting, and semi-satirical. But if you look at our invention path and innovation path over time, starting from the turn of the century, the last century, 1900s, and tracing up to just over 30 years ago, it's actually more like 40 years, We have light bulbs and electricity and refrigerators and Colossus, the first computer, the nuclear age, supersonic jets, curing polio, nuclear landing, modern computer. So that if you lived here and flew back to the time here, it would basically be like you went back to caveman times. And conversely, if you went from here up to here, the world was drastically different. The world of the 80s is very similar to the world of now. So my representation of that is this. I propose that we make a dedication to one another, and most importantly to ourselves. That we will stop the instant and immediate gratification that goes on in our local community, with ourselves. That we stop the popularity contest. That we focus on what matters. We stop all the snarkiness, and we get back to making friends. Most importantly, we get back to changing the world. We stop chasing retweets, and we start chasing humanity. Because remember, we are developers. We are the people who can take things, make them better and faster and more efficient, effective, cheaper, awesomer. We have powers. To most people in the world, we are magicians. Nay, we are alchemists. We take thin air and we make gold appear. What other group can do this in the time scale and with the limited number of resources that we require to do this with? And that's why I say it's time to start living up to our own hype. We should never be acting as entitled as we are, myself included, until we have a plethora of responses to at least the 30 years, ideally the 20. It'd be great to say the last year on how we made everyone's life better. Now, I'm not trying to discourage you or tell you we don't live in an amazing time. How many of you have a clue who this individual is? Okay, good. Karl Marx. For those of you who don't know who Karl Marx is, he's that guy. He wins the Movember Award. He did observe, he's a political theorist, and I think that's what you can call him. He observed, among many other things, that power belongs to those who control the means of production. That we now not only control in our lives the means of innovation, creation, but we here control the means of production. And we do it in a manner that is astronomically and ridiculously efficient, effective, and we can wield with little to no capital and little to no human resources. We developers get paid a lot of money, especially in contrast to the rest of the world. We are very talented. We have ability. We, like I said, are alchemists. We create from nothing gold. And we control the means of production. So much so that Marx would just be elated. He would start running around trying to create communes. We are sitting at the point of confluence between the digital age, the industrial age, and the atomic age. And we're making Angry Birds. We can do right now, probably here, they probably have a CNC or a 3D printer here. We could print out magical flying drones that operate without any human beings. We can hit the button print, and it prints out. And we could go print 1 billion of those across the United States at all the 3D printers that are already deployed. We can print AK-47s with the button press from our desktops. We have perfected all things that our predecessors have left us. And we spend it nonsensically battling with one another over trite and callous points. Our entitled negativity is consuming our entire community and will, if we don't stop it, be the end of it. How many more techies need to commit internet suicide before we wake up and realize that maybe pushing people off the ledge is not the way of doing it? I'll just go through a couple. This has to stop. This negativity needs to end. It is easy to go run to Twitter and to go throw Molotov cocktails. It is harder and much better to go throw positive compliments that might, just might, encourage someone to go look into something different, that then in turn changes the world, that then in turn benefits you. When we spread negativity, all we do is we shut doors that would otherwise be open. We kill creativity. We destroy a part of our collective tech community's soul. And it needs to end. So let's try something. Let's try disconnecting from the virtual world. Now let's start out small, so that way you don't go through withdrawal. Pick one day each week and cut off the circus. Cut off the Twitters. Use that time to go build a robot, to teach children, to read a book, or just to sit around and smile at how awesome of a life you have. Think about how that makes you feel. How much better that makes you feel than the addle-minded addiction of social media. For the other 6 days, try to post something nice about someone. Hey, that module is awesome. Hey, I love your new picture. Something that is positive. Every day. If all of us did it, that's a pretty big shift. And a wise man once said, it isn't what you say, it's what you do, it isn't what you say. To me, this is very important. What you say in these positive tweets don't matter as much as doing the act of sending them. And it will change not only you, but whoever looks at that information and whoever you sent it to. It has a far great reach, as do many actions in contrast to words. So in summary, here I am at a tech conference asking you to stop or reducing technology use. And yet I'm not doing that. No. I'm not trying to get you to stop using technology. I'm trying to get you to use it more to go change the world. I'm trying to get you to go find a mission, follow that mission, and help change the world. Find something that in your heart you believe, you think needs to be better. Follow that with tenacity and veracity that we'll fight about semicolons about, or CoffeeScript versus TypeScript versus Dart versus who cares. Fight with that passion and follow your own mission. This is by no means a keynote. This is a start of a discussion that I hope we continue to have. Most importantly, this is just me up on stage sharing my experience with you. All in the hopes that my 2.5-year-old daughter and my on-the-way son will enter into a better life than what I live right now. That they will become technology people and have a better technology community than what we have right now. Think about that. That we will build a legacy of constantly improving our lives, which then passes through to improving our generations afterwards. I want to thank all of you for being amazing. And I want to share with you that the greatest appreciation you could possibly bestow on the organizers of this event, on meetups, on any event you ever attend, is to go from it and change the world. to take what you've learned here, to take the friendships that you've made here, the experiences that you've lived here, and use those to do amazing things elsewhere. Please go be the change. Most importantly, I want to thank all of you for being my friend and for believing in me throughout all the years. Thank you.
Hey. Check, check. Check, check. Check, check. Give it up for Chris Williams. All right, so guys, we're wrapping stuff up. We do. Emily is definitely my daughter. Can someone please get my wife, Carrie, can you come up here on the stage, please? You know that Chris's talk touched your heart because my 14-month-old didn't say a word the entire time. She just stood on my shoulders and was mesmerized, and I hope you guys were too. Yeah, this has been like a really, really amazing experience, and a lot of people asked me, "Whoa, these hoodies are amazing. Like, how'd you make them? Whoa, those banners look really professional. Who'd you get to make them? Like, wow, this conference is unbelievable. Like, how on earth do you pull it together?" And you guys need to understand, like, I'm glad that we talked about coding heroes, but my hero is my wife, Carrie. And I want us all to put our hands together because without her, this wouldn't have happened. Yeah, give me an R. All right, so this is my family. This is my 2.5-year-old daughter, Catherine, and this is my 14-month-old daughter, Emily. And wow, and I'm hearing Chris talking about teaching his daughter to create robots, and I feel like the worst father ever. But the last thing that I'm going to leave you guys with is, we are a family. This is a small conference, it's an intimate conference. I would never want to do a big conference. We are friends, we are family, and thank you for sharing this experience. And we're going to capture the moment. So you are all going to help me out. I just need everyone to stand up, grab the chair that they're sitting in, and just push them to the side, like Moses parting the sea. We're going to create space in the middle of this room, and we're all going to get together facing that way and take a family picture. So it's okay. Little chaos is good. We just need to create enough space so that we can all stand shoulder to shoulder. Yeah. Hey, Catherine.
Go JavaScript. Louder. Go JavaScript.